works. And while I do that,
Keep an eye on.
Go ahead, Erica.
We'll keep an eye on the waiting room and let people in. You can go ahead.
Great. Okay. Well, hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us for the our West Bayfront Spring Community Gathering. Maybe we put spring in quotes if we're getting snow tomorrow. We'll see. We are so excited to have you all here. We had great response to this meeting. So Zoom and phone seem to be working out pretty well until we can meet in person. Just a couple logistical notes about our event this evening. So we are recording this meeting and we're also hopefully streaming it live on Facebook so we can reach as many West Bayfront community members as possible. If people, we don't have time to kind of introduce everybody individually, but if folks have access to the chat and they want to introduce themselves, please feel free to do so. That'll be our stand-in for meeting face-to-face this evening. I do ask that at least for the first part of the meeting, if people don't mind muting themselves so we can kind of keep the sound nice and clear. But feel free to ask any questions in the chat and we will try to answer them as we go along. And then we'll leave plenty of time at the end for conversation and questions. And at that point, there'll be an opportunity to unmute and we can have conversation then. So just a little bit about the purpose of these, what we call our community gatherings. Our West Bayfront tries to hold 2 community gatherings a year, usually in the spring and the fall. They're really just a chance for us to connect with the community, provide some updates on projects that we're working on, give the floor over maybe to other organizations that are working on projects or initiatives that impact the West Bayfront neighborhoods. And just kind of share information and build relationships among the community. So we've been doing this now, I think, since we started in 2017. And we hope that when we have our fall gathering, we'll be doing that in person. Fingers crossed, we will see about that. I think I've got all of our logistical things covered here. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna share my screen and switch over to some slides. Now, if I can get there. Let's see. Okay, great. So, and just, yeah, so I can't see the chat, but Erica and our other co-hosts are going to be, I think, keeping an eye on chat as we go. So, sorry, I'm trying to advance. Oh, here we go. Okay, so here's our topics for tonight. We're going to talk a little bit about lights on our West Bayfront. Derek Laisel, our Vista, is going to share that in a minute. I'm going to be talking about some work on West 8th Street. We are going to cover some updates on Bayview Park, and we've got a couple guests from Erie Arts and Culture to share that. We'll talk about community events, and Seth Coomer from the First Presbyterian Church of the Covenant will provide that update. And then we will close with Candace Battles talking a little bit about a community progress update that we are going to be working on this year. And then again, leaving time for questions and conversations at the end. So before we launch in, I do want to first thank everyone, and there were many of us, many of you who participated in the our West Bayfront community cleanup this past Saturday. We had a great effort all throughout the West Bayfront neighborhoods. Lots of neighbors came out and took part in picking up litter, sharing information about neighborhood associations, and beautifying Gridley Park. It was a wonderful morning and lots of, I think, good cheer. And lots of work done. A special thanks to Gannon University, who participated through their Day of Caring with dozens and dozens of students, and also 3B Saloon, which provided volunteers with a really delicious snack after the event. So we really appreciate their support for our volunteers. And there's lots of other opportunities to get out and volunteer in the community this year, which we will discuss as part of this event tonight. And then just one more thing before I hand this over to Derek. As we kind of go through our updates this evening, just a little bit of information for folks who are not super familiar with the West Bayfront neighborhoods or the neighborhood associations within our footprint, I wanted to share this slide. So up here in the corner is a very rough map of what we consider to be the West Bayfront. It's basically the part of the city that's north of West 12th Street up to the Bayfront Parkway, bounded by Sassafras on the east side and the Bayfront Parkway on the west side. Includes multiple different neighborhoods. It also includes several different active all volunteer neighborhood associations. So we've got 6 different neighborhood associations or neighborhood watch groups, which we will reference this evening. If you are not sure which one is your neighborhood group, you can either contact our office at the phone number below or visit our website, and we will get you connected to the appropriate neighborhood association. And with that, I'm going to hand it over to Derek Laisel, who has been our AmeriCorps Vista serving with our West Bayfront this year. He has brought an incredible amount of energy and knowledge about all things gardening and nature as a biology major to the organization. He's done a lot of great work, and I'm sure you've seen him out and about if you've been involved with some of our projects. He's going to talk right now about the Lights On Our West Bayfront initiative that he has been managing during his time with us. So Derek, take it away.
All right. So, hey, everybody. It's good to be here with you all today, and happy to tell you about where we're currently at and where we're heading with the Lights On Our West Bayfront project. So first, for anybody who's joining for the first time, I know that we have a lot of new people here with us. We can explain a little bit about the background and what we've done so far with the project. So this Lights On project is essentially about strengthening neighborhood networks where neighbors are looking out for neighbors and problem solving with various neighborhood associations that you saw before on the screen on that map to make recommendations for security and lighting enhancements. Part of this is also about raising awareness for potential future projects that came up as points for further discussion. For this project, we're going to be working with the Boulevard Park Association, Gateway Association, and Bay and Harbor Association. And so for what's been done so far, so since 2017, our West Bayfront has given out a bunch of these free dusk till dawn bulbs, which have a little light sensor in them that turns on when it gets dark and will turn off when there's light. So to date, we've had 206 of these that we've given out. And so these have been given out in neighborhood meetings as well as distributed to volunteers who live in the neighborhood to take to their neighbors and explain to them what they are and how they work and offer one of them to them for free. There have also been a few light tally surveys where residents and Anna and I have gone out and done tallies of how many houses on a block have exterior lights on. And the average for this, for what we've seen, is roughly about 30% of properties have an outside light on. And so for that tally also, showed things like some houses or some streets have lights on all the houses on. Some streets have no lights on. And then there's other factors like larger businesses with industrial lights or street lights that just make for different circumstances. So this became useful when we coupled this with recommendations and stories from community members, as well as Erie crime data mapped by Gannon students, and a survey that I made to sort of formally gather thoughts from community members and such, and try to figure out places where lighting and security conditions would be useful. So all of this was basically put into a map, which showed all of the places where these stories, and where do we have 36 neighborhood survey responses. This is where essentially we created a map where it showed all of these lighting and security recommendations could be made. In efforts to keep the funds for this sort of more impactful, we chose to choose a few target areas where there was a lot of a lot of feedback clustered, and recommendation for lighting and improvement was kind of in one area rather than to try to spread the funds out too thin. And so we've met with some of the neighborhood associations to review these initial recommendations and get better feedback. And then these are the like 4 areas that we are looking at to now go and choose houses and homeowners to work with to make these improvements. Here we have Weschler between West 8th and West 12th, West 6th Street and Cranberry by the Make It Fabulous, the Cascade between West 2nd and West 4th Street with Cascade Park right there, Liberty Street between Gridley Park and West 11th, so for what's to come with the project, in choosing these houses in these target areas, we're going to be getting new light fixtures installed for homes where there is no light fixture, essentially, and also distributing those LED bulbs where there are focus in these target areas and on dark blocks where we found that the light is scarce. There's also these new trash cans that there's a little picture down here of the little model that we picked out that seems to be the best option. These are going to be placed in areas close to the target areas where we have had residents who've said that trash is a problem on their block, and they've said that they could commit to help maintain a trash can nearby. At 1 or 2 of these places, there's also going to be some security cameras installed, which neighbors have expressed a need or desire for in one way or another. And then finally, a light installation for Gridley Park is in the works to light up the canopy in the summertime and sort of draw attention to the park and the project, and ideally the neighborhood associations by virtue of the project, and to try to network people to their organizations, their respective neighborhood organization better. In which I think on the next slide here, oh, it's not what I thought it was. I thought it was the map. Is it on the next slide, Anna?
Yep, there we go. Do you want to do this one first, though?
Oh, yeah, we can do that. Sorry. So these are some of the ideas for future projects which have come up in discussion in person and digitally through that survey, which we think have some nice potential for either other projects or to be part of that like next phase of the Lights On project. One of them in particular here that there's 2 pictures of is the big red retaining wall on Weschler, right by basically on Weschler and 12th. It's basically like the prime candidate for mural, and everybody driving on 12th Street be seeing this. And we also have this benches idea that has come up at bus stops, which there's a bunch of, this is kind of a neat idea with, could be like an adopt a bench or something of that kind of nature where people can adopt a bench, paint it a different way. Also, there's been tree planting and protection ideas. And at West 9th Street and Cascade, there's ideas maybe we've been throwing around for a vacant lot improvement project there. Benches, playground, and a dog park. And so then this is another image of that map for you basically you to get in contact with your neighborhood association.
Great. Thank you, Derek. Excellent job sharing an update on Lights on our West Bayfront. And I don't think we can stress enough how important the role of the different neighborhood associations are with this project. So that's why we keep showing this map, because we want folks to know which neighborhood group they are within. Gateway Neighborhood Association is a new group that formed last year. And I believe we have at least one of the coordinators, Jason Wazorek, is on the call or on the Zoom tonight. So please try to get connected with those neighborhood groups, especially as they're able to meet more and more in person as the weather warms up. I'm going to pause there and see, Erica, do you see any questions in the chat that we should respond to right now before we move on?
Anna, I don't see any questions, but just a note that I just put in there. If everyone can drop your ideas, opinions, questions into the chat at any time, we'll be certain to get to as many of them as we can before the night is over.
Thank you. Okay, then we will move on to the next topic. I can make my slide advance. Sorry, I'm stuck. Why am I stuck? Oh, there we go. Okay, so the next topic for conversation is our Restore West 8th Street initiative. So the West 8th Street commercial corridor, as we call it, which is generally the area between Myrtle and Cherry Streets along at 8th Street, has been one of our focus areas for the last few years within the larger our West Bayfront footprint. The reason we're focused on this area, number one, it's in the Our West Bayfront Community Plan as an early focus area to invest resources and attention, really with the goal of encouraging and promoting more businesses to locate and grow here that serve neighborhood needs. Businesses like potentially food-related grocery stores, restaurants, delis, and other businesses that just meet the day-to-day needs of the community. So we've been doing a couple different things with this initiative. And a lot of this work, I should say, is supported by the Erie County Gaming Revenue Authority through their Mission Main Streets grant. So one piece of this has been to help property owners along the 8th Street corridor make repairs and improvements to their properties that will make those buildings more attractive to the types of neighborhood businesses we're trying to bring back here. So we've been working, we've been able to make improvements at about 13 properties so far in the last 2 years. And there are renovations planned for about 7 more this year. We were excited to partner in the past 6 weeks or so with the city of Erie to submit a grant to the state. It hasn't been funded yet, but our fingers are crossed for considerable funding to address the needs for a couple of the most prominent properties on the corridor. These are older brick buildings that, they just need a lot of work because of the years of deferred maintenance and the kind of the damage that water can do on a building. So we'll stay tuned for that. Hopefully we'll be able to share good news after the state reviews the grants there. One of the buildings, of course, that has been addressed is the building at 404 West 8th Street, which is our new community space and apartments here shown in the upper right-hand corner. That project was finished at the end of this past year, and we are now in our new space right on West 8th Street. So please stop in and see us with a mask on if you don't mind. We were also able to install security cameras at 5 properties on the 300 and 400 blocks to improve safety and security. And then we're excited to welcome a new neighbor. Federal Resources Corporation moved into this building at 440 West 8th Street earlier this year. So we're excited that this business, which has a number of employees, has moved into a space that had been vacant for a little while in the last couple of years. So lots going on here and more to come. My slides are pretty slow. I apologize. There's a little bit of a delay when I try to switch. There we go. No, that way. Okay, so this is just a little bit of a map showing where this work is happening. This is Chestnut Street. Here's Myrtle and Walnut Street. So we're really talking about this very focused area of 8th Street. The little stars you can see here are properties where we have made or anticipate are making improvements in partnership with the owners. These are the 3 sort of prominent buildings that we're hoping to get state funding for on these right there. And I think my my star is wrong. We've moved. Our 8th Street building is right here on the just next to the corner of Chestnut Street and 8th Street. So again, stop by and visit us anytime you'd like. So as part of this effort, we have had a survey ongoing over the past, I would say 4 to 5 months, to really dig deeper and understand some of the thoughts and opinions, primarily, people throughout the community, but in particular, residents, property owners, and business owners along West 8th Street. The survey is not closed, so I'll say right off the bat, if you have not taken our West 8th Street survey, we really welcome you to do that. The link is down here at the bottom, surveymonkey.com. We've had almost 60 responses to date, with 72% of those respondents being residents of the West Bayfront and or specifically of West 8th Street. And then another 14% are business owners on West 8th Street. So I just pulled a couple key findings from the survey responses to date. So first of all, one of the things we asked about is the speed of traffic. So for those of you who are familiar with the area, 8th Street is a two-way street west of Liberty, and then between Liberty and downtown, it switches to 2 lanes of one-way traffic heading downtown. And kind of if you stand on the street, you kind of see that the traffic tends to move a little bit faster than it does when it's a two-way street, and often above the speed limit, which I think is posted at 25 miles per hour. And that is borne out by people's opinions about the traffic. So 52% of the respondents felt that traffic does not move at safe speeds down the street. Only 22% felt that it does. We asked about businesses and whether they serve the needs of the neighborhood, and 56% felt that the existing businesses don't fully meet the needs of the neighborhood. I don't think that's a knock on any of the existing businesses, but I think that's what I read into that as a call for some additional businesses. And most of the people who commented on this question really called out the need for more food-related businesses along this corridor. It was really, it's been an overwhelming theme for the responses to this question. So we're really hoping that we can see some more food-related businesses in addition to Fat Lenny's, and dinner is served by Chef Lisa along this corridor. And then we also asked about the traffic pattern. So again, it's one way right now between Liberty and downtown. Right now, 63% of the respondents to the survey supported changing traffic to two-way traffic from the current one-way. A couple of kind of reasons, when people were asked to explain why they felt that way, the goals of slowing down traffic was named, supporting the growth of businesses, because businesses would then have more opportunity to sort of be visited by people who are coming or going along the corridor, and just sort of making the area safer more generally. Folks who were concerned about this idea raised concerns about the narrowness of the street, whether it's too narrow to support that type of traffic, and whether it would provide enough parking for people. I will say that we've been, in conversations with the city and the county about this, and there's been an initial assessment done that found that it really wouldn't impact the parking. We would not anticipate losing any parking if we switched to 2 ways. And generally, studies show that when traffic goes 2 ways on a street, that actually does sort of naturally slow down traffic, making things safer. But what we're trying to do is really just surface any additional concerns about this idea as we continue to talk with the city about it. There's been an initial look at costs, and I can say we don't necessarily have the funding in our pocket right now to make the changes that would be necessary to the traffic signals and other infrastructure needed. But this is the type of thing that a major grant could support if we can generate and build enough support for this idea, if there is indeed, strong community support for making such a change. So we are continuing to reach out to folks, request feedback. Again, please take that survey if you have not already. We're going to continue to work with the city of Erie and the county to look at at costs and potential opportunities to fund the work. In addition to other improvements, the condition of the sidewalks is pretty poor, so we'd really like to address that. Potentially add some more lighting along the corridor, and other ways to make just this whole area a little bit more pedestrian friendly. So again, feel free to please take that survey or reach out to us with any questions or comments or concerns about this. We just wanted to give an update on how this is, how this is moving and kind of where it's headed. So again, I'm going to stop here for a second and ask Erica if there are any questions in the chat that I should respond to now before we move on to the next topic.
I don't see any questions in relation to Restore West 8th Street or ideas. We have one question that has to do with potentially dangerous activity. I don't know if there's a safety and security section that's coming up you want us to wait for, or is now a good time?
We don't have a separate section on that, so maybe we should, if it's not specific to 8th Street, why don't we hold that one till the end?
Sounds good. We sure will.
Okay, well, if folks do have questions about this, please do put them in the chat, or we can open that up for conversation at the end. But I think what we can do now is move on to the next topic, which is Bayview Park. And we've got Antonio Howard on here now. I'm just going to do a quick update on general updates before handing it over to him and hopefully one other artist. So if folks have been up to Bayview Park recently, and we did have warm weather a couple weeks ago, it was here. So you might have been out there at the top of the bluff. You've seen some changes that are continuing to take place at Bayview Park. Number one, the Erie sign was installed thanks to really wonderful effort by one of our board members, Jason Wazorek, and a number of local vendors who completely donated all of the labor and materials to make this project happen. So we're very grateful for them for creating this really, really cool new addition to the park that's become, like, honestly, just a great symbol of the community of Erie, and all that's happening here. Also recently installed are the 3 new swinging benches at the top of the bluff. Great place to check out the sunset. There's new welcome signage that's going to be, the signs are installed, but the structures are installed, but the information still needs to be added about the history of the park and of Pontiac Field there. So look for those coming in the next couple of weeks. And then literally as of today, lighting at the basketball court has been installed and will be turned on tonight, from what I understand. So if folks remember early in the work at Bayview Park, many of these ideas came out of community surveys we did of park users. And one of the very top things that people said they wanted to see was lighting on the basketball court. So we were really excited to be able to work with Electrical and Mechanical Systems Incorporated, which is right there on Cherry Street, and with the city of Erie to be able to get this lighting installed. So we're really thankful for their partnership and support of this project. So that's just some of the work that's been happening, you can see now. And then I'm going to switch slides and hand it over to hopefully 2 of our guests, Antonio and Emma Dallas, of Erie Arts and Culture's Chroma Guild. And they are going to talk about another project that is in the planning stages and will be worked on over the next couple of months. So do you guys want to take it from here?
Hello, my name is Antonio Howard. Em, are you on? Is Jermaine here?
I am on. I do not see Jermaine, but I am on.
Okay, can you do the talking right now? I'm at another mural right now, so anytime you need me to chime in, I can, but I can't talk right now.
Yes, well, I'll just take it on over. Hello, everyone.
Right.
Hello, everyone. My name is Emidali Serrano. I am the VP of Chroma Guild, and I am very happy to be with you guys today. I am the art administrator for this particular project, and I, of course, thank Antonio for being my right-hand man on this. So there's a couple of things that we have obviously shared with you guys, and in the image you see are images of different courts that were done obviously in different locations. But something like this is what we are trying to do. Not exactly this, obviously we want to have our own touch, and we want to make sure that the voices of our community are really, really highlighted to make sure that this is a piece that represents the community. All right, so there are several questions that we want to open up, but I want to take just 1 second to give you guys a formal introduction to who your featured artist will be. We have Mr. Sheldon McNeil on the line. He is our featured artist, and I will let him speak for just a moment, introduce himself really quick, if you don't mind, Anna.
That's great. Go ahead.
Hello, can you hear me? All right. Hello, my name is Sheldon McNeil, and I've been painting for a while in Erie. I've been living in Erie for 26 years, and I just want to join the team and make the community a better place and vibrant with the colors and, you know, with my art, spread more art out there.
Alrighty, guys. So I don't know, I think he's breaking up, but I'm gonna go ahead and move forward with you guys. I know that we are on a time limit. So the main two questions that we really want to ask the community is, what do you love about our West Bayfront community? And then what colors and shapes come to mind when you're thinking about your community? So we want to be able to give like a patchwork type of feel to this design, but we want to take the elements that truly pertain to this community. And I know that on Thursday, you guys, a few of you guys got together and brought some names up and several ideas. So with that being said, can we, Anna, open it up really quickly to like a chat that talk about what we love about our West Bayfront community, if we can get a little bit of feedback?
Yeah, I think that would be great. So if folks feel comfortable sharing in the chat, or we probably do have time to take a few comments in person if people want to raise their hands. I think you can unmute yourself, I believe. But I already see some comments coming in on the chat, which is great. But feel free, if you've got something you want to share verbally with the artists team, please do. And I just have to say, of these examples, I thought this one that the group shared with me, the New Bedford example, is very, very cool, because if anybody is aware of New Bedford, Massachusetts history, they are a whaling town. So you can actually see the images of whales and very maritime features incorporated into this fantastic piece. So we're really excited to have something that's as unique to Erie and to the West Bayfront right here at Bayview Park. We're seeing a couple of things come in. So proximity to the water, the diversity of residents, history, culture, the people, the community, the lake, the history. Great, great comments. 4 seasons of color. Does anybody want to speak up and not share on chat and just share by?
I'm trying to catch the messages as I'm going.
Yep. Sails on the Niagara.
My hand up. I can't find how to put my hand up.
Well, why don't you go ahead, Candace?
Okay,
You got your hand up now.
Okay, I do want to interject here maybe. We did have a get-together discussion last Thursday at the park. It was supposed to be on the court. However, it was raining when we started, so we went to the gazebo. And there were a few neighbors were able to come who have been in the community various periods of time, and also gave some suggestions and questions about this particular basketball court art project. One of the things that it was also part of the discussion early on in the planning stage at meetings, basically at the King Center in the green room. We have some local talent who either has been very active in the lives of some of the young people who grew up in this community. We have some folks who have went on to greater lengths in basketball. And people have expressed then and also last week that somehow or the other, how do we get that into the basketball court art project?
Want me to start wiping this down?
Okay, there we go. I clicked the button like 3 times and I couldn't get it unmuted. Okay. Yes, I did see the list of names of basketball players or people who have played and are very recognizable here in Erie, Pennsylvania. So we will be trying to incorporate this. What we would like to see and the image that we are presenting to our artists so that we can the idea, excuse me, that we're presenting to our artists so we can get a general idea of exactly what we're doing is we would like to see a patchwork, almost like a patchwork quilt, where we have, since there's 2 basketball courts, we would have the new and then the old. And then how we marry it together would be with shoestrings in the middle of the court, stitching both of these courts together. But because we want to do various patchwork kind of design, it should be very easy to incorporate, you know, a lot of these people and ideas. So it shouldn't be very hard to do. I guess my question, because I see in one of the comments, it says, a welcome to new Americans. What does that look like exactly? What does that feel like? What exactly would that look like? I'm not sure who wrote that comment.
I think I did, sorry. And I have to give that some thought of what that looks like. But what I would like about the neighborhood is that it is a cornucopia of all folks, and just seems as if it's welcoming for all people. So that's kind of where I was going with that.
And I see a lot of comments on history and the historical value that is in this area. Because there has been a dedication to this baseball field, I'm kind of wondering, what are we missing? What isn't being told in this space, particularly about history? Okay, and then actually really good answers. I know I'm making you think really hard and I apologize, but these are kind of the questions that we need to get down to because of the fact that these are our people. There are the ones that are using this, you know, this space, and we want it to be very representative of who is in this area. So I apologize if I kind of confuse you guys with the questions, but as they pop in my head, I'm gonna ask. But we could go ahead and move on to the second question, and that is, what colors and shapes come to mind when you think about your community, or this community in particular?
I can say there've been a few answers in the chat already on that one, but keep adding more. I think we saw the shape of sails, blue, white, yellow, green. What am I missing here? Oh, the 4 seasons of color. I think that could be a color answer. Blue water waves.
And I'm don't want to make the assumption. Is the blues and the yellows and the oranges really coming from the water and the sunset in that area? Is that what is inspiring, or is it something else?
Somebody in the chat responded, it's the light off the bluffs. Somebody said, yes, the water.
On Facebook, we have, I love the water views in our neighborhood, even in winter. Sunsets. The history and diversity of our West Bay front, the shapes of gears. This neighborhood was home to those who worked in the fishing industry historically, as it was close to the docks and ships. Someone's great-grandfather worked on, was a commercial fisherman living on West 2nd Street. Also, there was a ice house up right there on that corner prior to it becoming a park, and I forgot the year. And once the ice house was gone was when the park became a thing.
If I could suggest maybe that we kind of keep this conversation going in the chat, if that's okay, Amidalis, and then
Yep, that is perfectly okay.
Does this kind of get you some information and feedback that you're hoping for?
Yep, that absolutely did. Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Yeah, we're so grateful to have you guys, have this whole team working on the project, and for your presence here this evening. And folks, if you haven't had a chance to weigh in on the chat, please do. We'll be, saving this and sharing it with the group. And I believe the plan is to, once a design is developed, to have the actual creation of this art be a fairly interactive, community involved project. So please keep your eye out for information and announcements as this thing takes shape. And I think Ann Bomberger has it right. This will be the coolest court in Northwest Pennsylvania when it's done. So we're excited for it. And I should say that we are very grateful for Erie Arts and Culture for making this possible here in our community. And this is really the result of a significant private donation to Erie Arts and Culture. So again, we're very grateful for that being located here in the West Bay Front community. We're going to move on and talk about give a brief update on another project that is also taking shape thanks to the support from a private donor, another art project. When we had our last community gathering back in December, we had Tom Ferraro, who I know is on the Zoom this evening, gave an update on a project that he is working on at the top of Cascade Trail. It's now being called the Cascade Sungate Project. And it basically will be, you see a sketch right here on the left side of a piece that is now being fabricated this week and will be installed at the top of Cascade Trail. I gave Tom no warning about this, but Tom, do you want to jump in and let us know how this is going if you're still there? If you're still on the call.
Sure, I even showed my face. Yeah, things are moving right along. It's at Gene Davis sales right now. Today, they sort of hoisted it up and kind of tack things together in place to where, you know, where we have the design, and we're getting ready to, we're picking some colors. We are trying to coordinate with some of the furnishings that are in the park right now at Cascade Park. And it's moving along so far without a hitch. So fingers crossed we'll have it installed. We're hoping maybe within 30 days or so.
Great. It's so great to see this thing, watch this take shape in the shop there. So thank you.
Yeah, it's a fascinating place. They have a million things going on, and they really do a great job.
Awesome. So keep your eyes out for this as it gets out there and put in place at the top of the trail there. Okay.
Anna, we have one question that just is coming in regarding chalk art.
Mhm.
So we have one person who's asking if there's a space or opportunity for chalk art contributions from residents. And I know oftentimes we just see it popping up, but is there a place where our West Bayfront is encouraging it, or is it open and welcome?
I would say open and welcome. It's not something I think we've really contemplated on a sort of formal basis, but I think, yeah,
We talked about it a little bit for West Bay Fit
that's true.
on
Yeah.
Wednesday nights. Yeah.
Yep. And then last year there was a resident who did some like active chalk art installations along the promenade, encouraging people to do like skipping and hopping and jumping as they walk along the promenade, which I don't know, I consider that art. But yeah, definitely there've been some great examples of it. So please, if you've got the bug, please decorate our sidewalks. Yes, Ned Smith. That's right, Louis. Okay, so Seth chimed in there for a second, and that's good timing because I'm going to hand it over to him to talk about community events that are planned for the West Bayfront this year. Seth, you want to take it away?
Sure. We'll make it really brief, but in addition to the parks, the community events are great places and times to gather and get to know one another and celebrate all the things that we love about our West Bayfront. Last year was very challenging. We didn't get to do some of the things that we love the most, that get the most people together in West Bayfront, obviously. But we did do some pretty interesting adapted versions of things and still managed to hang out with the community in different ways and provide opportunities for people to enjoy West Bayfront. So you'll see on this list that there are a number of things that are planned for this summer. Of course, they're COVID dependent, and there could be further adaptations and changes that come to them, but I encourage you to grab your calendar or something to write down a list of these things so that you won't miss them as they come along. And it's kind of kicks off on June 27th with the Erie Phil in the park, we hope, in the park. But it'll be somewhere in West Bayfront with Peter and the Wolf. And then on Wednesdays in July and August, you'll notice West Bay Fit and West Bay Walks. I think last summer, West Bay Walks kind of kicked off, and it was a perfect thing during a pandemic summer to offer an opportunity to get to know our community, our neighborhoods better. And that'll be kind of married with the West Bay Fit nights at Bayview Park that have been so fun for the last few years, and a growing thing that more and more folks come out to. There's kind of something for everybody on those evenings. What's the time frame, Anna? Kind of
Yeah, 6 to 8 p.m. You mean
6
what
to
time of
8
day?
p.m.
Yeah.
We've had local fresh produce markets there. We've had activities for young kids, activities for older kids, yoga, hula hooping, dancing. I mean, there's just ways to exercise, have fun, and enjoy the view at Bayview Park and meet each other. National Night Out, there's an adapted version of National Night Out being planned, similar to the adapted version of the Fall Fest that we did last year. Kind of a walkthrough event instead of a really gathering and hanging out so much, but that's Tuesday, August 3rd. In September, at the end of September, you'll notice Porch Fest. What a great jump from a good event to an amazing event last summer that took. And what a welcome time that was in late September for us to sit in front of different houses in the neighborhoods and listen to musicians all throughout the community on a schedule. You can pick 3 or 4 of your favorites and get to them throughout the day. The Fall Fest in October, always a great time for kids to dress up, for grown-ups to dress up and hang out in the park, and lots of involvement with Gannon students there and activities for kids, and it remains to be seen what that'll look like depending on the situation with the pandemic. And finally, building on something that's been a long tradition, community Thanksgiving dinner at the Martin Luther King Center. Our neighbors from our neighborhoods gathering together to prepare the food and serve the food. And last year it was takeout. Maybe this year we'll be able to have dine-in, who knows, but we don't give up easily, the events team. All these things take a lot of people to make them happen, as well as some other things, if you want to forward that, Anna. You can imagine none of these things happen without a lot of volunteers. And personally, I've found that by volunteering, you get to meet neighbors from down the street and neighbors from 6 blocks away and kind of share what you like living there in the community. Sponsorship by individuals, by organizations, by any kind of community group to make the things happen, financially, are also needed and necessary and welcome. It's amazing what the events committee's been able to do on very small budgets, but it would be great to have you or any group or business that you represent involved in these activities. And finally, the events have to be shared. So the list you saw on the previous screen, you got to share with your neighbors. And when you see stuff pop up on the Our West Bayfront Facebook page or any of the social media, share it with others. Share it on your Facebook page. Share it with your neighborhood watch group, and let one another know the good ways we have to get to spend time with each other and build community. And to do all those things, you can contact Anna at the email or phone number that are down in the corner of that slide.
Perfect. I want my phone ringing off the hook tomorrow or later this evening with folks that are interested in volunteering or sponsoring or getting involved in some way. Thank you, Seth, so much for a great overview. Anything else you want to add, or are you good?
Nah, that's it.
Okay, great. So we hope to see folks out at every single one of those events this year in person, but with masks on. Okay, we are going to switch to our last topic now. And that is what we are tentatively calling the Community Progress Update. Candace, the chairperson of our board of directors, is going to take this one. Candace, can I hand it over to you?
Yes, ma'am. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to our community gathering, for one thing, from the board. At this time this year, we are assessing our progress and considering how our West Bayfront resources should be used in the coming 5 years. But first, let me stop and go back to the period between 2009 and 2012. There was an idea born that how can Gannon be in this community with all of its resources and having people coming here from all over the world and not use its resources to help a community that was one of the poorest in the state. And that conversation over time kind of took off. There were some changes that happened. Some residents, I talked to residents, and HANDS, the Martin Luther King Center, and Gannon University we collaborated and were able to begin the foundation for this organization we have right now. So in 2012, by that time, Gannon Erie Gaines had been formed at Gannon. HANDS had received a small grant from the Erie County Gaming Revenue Authority. We used that grant and did a preliminary survey. We did some town hall meetings. We did, talked to residents about what they thought about the community, what they liked about the community, and what they thought our needs were, what their perceptions were. 2012, we have Erie Gaines, and Erica Ramallo shows up, and she became my first Anna Franz. We worked together with a lot of other neighbors, and we formed what was called a steering committee to kind of help lead this discussion on what we wanted to do here. Moving forward, we were able to get another grant, and we were able to hire a planner. City architect from Ohio came over and worked with us for about 6 to 9 months. They held focus groups, did survey, they attended meetings, they walked probably every block over in the our West Bayfront. They also walked over in other parts of the city because of the things that they were hearing about, people's perception of the differences in our community versus other communities. They did a lot of research on previous plans that hadn't been followed through with. They looked at the data, and they got a lot of information. The information ended up being divided into 6 areas. If you go on the Our West Bayfront website, the plan is there. If you're not on the internet and you want to see the plan, give me a call, 814-459-3549. I'll bring one over and we can sit down and talk about it and look at it. But we came up with the plan and they helped us put it together into something that was workable. So now here we are at 2020. In 2016, we were able to get several grants, hire a executive director. Her name is Anna Franz, that is leading this, this gathering. And we've started working on the first steps in that community plan. Now we're at 2021, and we now need to look at what have we done? What haven't we done? What did we do well? What did we not do well? What did we not do? Where do we go next? Those are just kind of basic questions that we need to start asking and looking for as we go into the next year and with the need of applying for additional funding to do whatever those things are that we need to do next. And it's not what I think that we should do, but it needs to be a consensus of the community of what we need to do. It'll go before the board will approve it. It's a process. We went through a process back in 2016, and we need to reinvent that process. And we believe that we can do that with everyone's help ourselves locally. We don't have to hire out, although we would like to have our former planners pay us a visit and check in with us. So we're going to work on doing that in 3 different ways. Number 1, we'll be doing surveys. So when you see a survey coming at you, talking about something about doing a community progress update, and where do we go next? Please, please feel free to share, be honest. Don't only be honest about the things that we've done well. It's so important that you also be honest about the things that we haven't done well or that we didn't do, that we skipped. The other thing is that I've been in the process of very slowly making individual personal interviews with people. And I'm just amazed at how well they're going. I began that process last year when things closed down for COVID, just checking in on the neighbors in the West Bayfront Neighborhood Watch group, which is one of the 6 groups that Anna talked about. And because at that point in time, we needed to know what people needed, because we do have resources and many people don't know where to go for resources. We worked hand in hand with the King Center and then their MCIC, and I'm not going to try and tell you what the initials are right now, program, and getting people food, picking up medication and getting it delivered to people. They also did the COVID testing. Last Saturday, when we were having the cleanup, they were doing vaccinations. And they are part of this plan as well. They're included because they are one of the assets in the R West Bayfront. Every neighborhood does need a Candace Battles checking in on their neighbors. And we're going to be asking some of you to help us with that. We'll be calling and contacting some of you to do those personal interviews. In addition, we're going to do group discussions. You may want to host the people on your block in your yard during the summer, and hopefully later in the year, we'll be able to gather together physically. If not, we'll figure out a way how to do those interviews or group discussions. But we need feedback from a variety of our community members. And as I am always going to say, when we're looking for feedback, when we're looking at who needs our help, please remember the people in our community who don't have a voice, because you have a voice and you need to be their voice. You know, you need to be the voice of this person with disabilities who can't get out, who doesn't have internet communication. You need to be a voice to help us figure out how to communicate with them. You need to be a voice if you know someone has some problems, and how do we fix it as a community, whether it's at the R West Bayfront level, or if it's down at the neighborhood watch level, or if it's just a couple neighbors working together to help someone through whatever difficulties that they experience in life and living. Did I leave anything out?
No, I think you did great.
And as always, if you're interested in participating in the conversation, hosting a small group discussion, please contact Anna. Her phone needs to be ringing off the hook. I know she works really hard, but let's make her work really hard in this process. And on top of that, we're all going to help her with that work because it's a team. We're a village. We're a large village with many small villages. Anyone have questions?
I'm looking to see if there are any questions, but I'll just reiterate, if you are interested in having one of these being in one of these one-on-one conversations with Candace or myself or another community member, please let us know. If you're willing to host a small meeting, please let us know. We really want to get a lot of different voices in this conversation.
And make sure you do the survey.
Right. Okay.
The
Why
other
don't
thing
we?
I found helpful is that there were surveys out back during the initial shutdown, and a couple people that I talked to didn't have internet access. So I asked them if I could fill their survey out for them while I talked to them on the phone, and they were agreeable to that. But those are people whose voices would not have gotten heard if we don't do things like that.
Yeah.
I'm done.
Okay, perfect. Thank you, Candace.
Welcome.
We're going to wrap up and move to questions and conversation in a minute, but I'm just going to, first of all, acknowledge the many, many, many partners and sponsors of the work that we're doing. All of these projects and initiatives would not be possible without the organizations and the individuals behind them that are shown here on the screen. So we're very grateful for their support. And then just a note on staying connected. So if you don't receive our e-newsletter, please make sure you're signed up for it. I promise we don't send out many email blasts, just a handful a year. I do find that they often go to spam. So if you think you're signed up, but you're not getting the emails, you probably need to make my email address or info at our West Bayfront, put that in your contacts, and you should be able to get those emails then. Another way to get connected is to sign up for volunteer opportunities. You can do that just by calling me, or we have a way to register with our volunteer database here by going to surveymonkey.com, OWB volunteer. And of course, Facebook, and by contacting the office. Feel free to do that anytime. We're going to move on to questions. And before I get to some of the questions, a lot of great questions came in before the meeting. So I really appreciate folks for sharing those when they registered. Two that came through the chat that I didn't get a chance to answer. One was about garbage cans. Can we get more garbage cans throughout the neighborhood? So as Derek alluded to, we're going to try sort of a pilot initiative with a number of trash cans. I think we've said 10, Derek, but maybe you can correct me if I'm wrong, where neighbors have said that they are willing to empty the trash cans on a very regular basis. Unfortunately, the city has not been able to do that with like public trash cans throughout the residential neighborhoods. So at this point, we're relying on neighbors to do that. If you're interested in being a neighbor that would sort of adopt a trash can, please let us know. We'll put you on our list. We're going to start out slow with this and see how it goes. Make sure it works, because we're purchasing pretty heavy duty trash cans. They're not cheap. We want to make sure that this is successful. So do let us know, and hopefully that will help stem some of the litter and trash issues that can become a problem. There was also a concern raised about motorized bikes coming through the neighborhoods, and obviously, well, we know this has been an issue that's been shared on social media and with some of the neighborhood watch groups. At this point, I think probably the best thing to do is, if you see these motorized bikes that are traveling at high speeds on sidewalks or in an unsafe manner, first of all, call the citizen response line at City Hall, which I have somewhere in one of these slides. We'll get to it in a second. And then I would also recommend connecting with your neighborhood watch group, because many of them have a direct connection with the Erie Police Department, and making sure those concerns are front and center on the city's radar. And then just going to switch into some of the questions that came in ahead of time. So a couple people asked about the trailers that are parked down by Bayview Park. I believe they are no longer there because what was on those trailers are now sitting at the corner of 5th and Cherry. Folks might have seen yesterday, and I don't know if it went into today a little bit, basically the construction of 3 new units of housing, which are modular. So there literally was a crane picking up these units and placing them down together very, very carefully to create 3 new housing units right there on the corner. And I think the trailers, if they're not gone by now, they will be shortly. It was pretty much the coolest thing I've ever seen, watching those things getting put together. And I know quite a few people were out checking it out yesterday. There was a question that came in about the plans to plant many new trees throughout the community. And I think that was referring to the Relief initiative that's been launched by LEAF. They are working on planting 275,000 trees, 1 tree for every citizen of Erie County. We have had a couple of conversations with them and certainly hope that many of those trees will be planted in the West Bayfront. There are ways for individuals to get involved, either to help care for trees. I believe they're also donating trees to people who want to plant them in their own backyards. So I've just put the website here. You can reach out to them, and what we might do is do a separate, invite them to a future meeting or event that we're having where people can learn more about this effort. But we definitely support what they're doing and are excited about more trees, healthier trees throughout the community. Another question came in ahead of time about a traffic light at Bayfront and Cranberry Street. Oops, sorry, I went too far. Similar to at Waterworks. Yes, we agree that a traffic light that actually stops the traffic rather than a flashing yellow would be much preferred to the current situation. And we've had conversations with the city and with PennDOT about this. They're aware of our concerns. But we definitely could use help. So if you have a concern about the traffic there, please do 2 things. Number 1, call the City of Erie Citizen Response Line, and there's the number 870-1111. And secondly, you can go online to the PennDOT Bayfront Parkway project and submit a public comment specific to that issue. It's bayfrontparkwayproject.com/public comment. And please register your concern about that intersection, because it's something that we're going to need to keep pushing on to hopefully have a change and have a sort of more a light that really fully stops the traffic there. Let's see. There was a question that came in about incentives in our West Bayfront area, such as facade grants. So generally, the answer is we try to connect property owners with resources to help them make repairs to their properties, residential or commercial. I definitely encourage you to reach out to me. My contact information is there. If you have a need, if you have an interest in that type of grant, I can say we never have enough money to go around. It's not nearly enough what we have right now, but what we can do is kind of put you on the list, and that helps us figure out where we might be able to use future grants or connect you with other resources that exist in the community. So please reach out, and we can have a conversation about the property. There was a question, I don't think I put a slide in about this, but about the Awesome Foundation that we were working on over the last couple of years. Basically, the Awesome Foundation was a way to channel small grants to really cool projects in the community. And we were able to fund a couple projects thanks to donations by community members and residents. Unfortunately, we had a little bit of a decline in participation among the Awesome Foundation members. So we're kind of taking this, like, sort of reassessing where we are right now. I'd love to get it back up and moving, but I think we don't have enough people involved. So if this is something you're interested in participating in, either as a donor or as a sort of a coordinator in particular, I would love to hear from you, and we can get the Awesome Foundation up and running again, to fund just really cool sort of small scale projects throughout the neighborhoods. What else? And this was my favorite question. Are there any volunteer opportunities or ways to give back? So I think we covered a few, but let me just reiterate. You can sign up for volunteer opportunities online or by contacting us. You can connect with your neighborhood association. And again, there's that map, the colorful map of the different neighborhood groups. And then also consider our West Bayfront on Erie Gives Day, which is coming up in August. Those $25 donations from many, many people really make a difference. They helped fund the improvements at Gridley Park last weekend. They are helping to fund the community art projects that you're seeing pop up throughout the neighborhood. They're funding the purchase of vacant and blighted buildings that we're able to renovate. So they really make a difference. So please, I'll just put in that little pitch to please consider our West Bayfront on Erie Gives Day when it rolls around in August. And that is the last question that I had from before the event. So I'm seeing there's some conversation in the chat about recycling and garbage. But I'm going to just kind of give people another minute or two to either weigh in with other questions or any other thoughts that people want to share before we wrap up this evening. Okay. Then if there is nothing else, I'm going to speak slow while people maybe weigh in, but I want to thank everyone for great conversation, great questions, great sharing of information and involvement, and for taking time out of your busy day to participate this evening with our community gathering. Oh, Nancy would like to speak to the mini bike issue. Please go ahead.
Okay, yeah, the reason I mentioned this to our West Bayfront is that it's part of community is helping to protect community. And obviously some of these folks who ride these mini bikes don't have any idea that they can't be seen and that they're creating a danger. I had one woman speak to me saying that she almost got run over, and when she mentioned something to the kid, he said, well, these are public streets. So I was wondering if by any chance, because we are a community organization, if we stood together and mentioned it to EPD that we are concerned about this, that maybe it might make, because I know police departments listen, especially Erie. I've had a great experience with Erie police. So just was wondering if maybe that might help by just kind of mentioning something to them about what's going on. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Nancy. I think that's a great suggestion, and I think it's something that we certainly could do. And it's also something that I might coordinate with the neighborhood watch leaders on as well. If maybe we could put in sort of a joint plea to step up the enforcement of this issue. So I think that's a wonderful idea and something we'll definitely work on over the next couple of days and weeks. Especially as it gets warmer, it's probably not going to. It's going to get more of an issue.
Yeah, what concerns me is they basically don't come out until after dark, and because they don't have any lights, it's like, oh my gosh, it's a tragedy waiting to happen.
Yeah. Okay. Anything else for the good of the order before we wrap up? Okay, well, again, thank you everyone for coming out this evening or staying in and signing on. I look forward to seeing folks out and about and hopefully at the Erie Phil concert on June 27th, which is the next opportunity to get together safely in the community. Everyone be well, stay healthy, and we'll see you soon.
Thanks.
Thanks, Anna. Great job.
Now I'm going to figure out how to stop Facebook.